Hey, you know something? You're pretty. No, you really are. You don't need that pudding all over your face.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam
It's horrible already.
Slam Cancakes.
I think you should keep that.
Hi, I'm Slam Cancakes. And welcome to Sam Pancake Presents the Monday Afternoon Movie. Today's movie is Haunts of the Very Rich from 1972. And I'm delighted to have my guest, the vivacious, effervescent Alec Mapa.
Hi, I'm Alec Mapa, actor, comedian, and Sam Pancake's worst fan. I'm a big fan, but I've been missing in action lately from all of your...
Well, you coined the term fan cake.
I'm a fan cake.
I'm going to take it and put it on T-shirts and merch.
It's true.
Thank you,
It's true.
Alec.
There's your merch opportunity.
I'm a big phallic papa?
I guess.
Fappa?
Oh, well, that works for me.
I like phallic fappa because isn't fapping like...
Oh,
okay.
oh, yeah.
Phallic fappa.
I like
that's
it.
your like dirty porn name.
Okay,
I guess.
all
Phallic
right.
Fappa.
Okay.
I'm a fan of you and
thanks.
all your work.
Thanks.
And you've always inspired me because you were someone who was like, if they're not going to hire me, I'm going to create my own material. And you've been doing that since the 90s.
I had to.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it just led to more bigger, beautiful, more bolder things.
I know.
And you're married and you have a great son.
Yep.
And you are just an inspiration.
Oh, well, thank you.
And,
I think this is a genius idea because I grew up hearing these movies through my bedroom door downstairs because often they were very adult themed.
Yes.
And every once in a while when my parents had a date, we would stay up late and watch these really spooky made-for-TV movies. So I saw Trilogy of Terror.
Yes.
And Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one really freaked me out.
Yeah.
We have to put that in this mix too. I think that was for a feature.
Yeah.
But it played on TV a lot
Right.
in the mid to late 70s.
And this is kind of the age of The Exorcist and that sort of thing. So there were a lot of satanic themed things. There was one that wasn't on the list that you should definitely look into called The People.
Oh,
and
I
it
don't
was
know
about this woman who goes to work in kind of what she thinks is an Amish community, but they're actually all aliens.
I do not know this. I'm into it.
And she teaches in the school, so it's like Little House on the Prairie meets Witch Mountain. So she goes to this like community who she thinks are like really backward people, but they're actually aliens dressed up as Amish people. And the children kind of float on air, and it's really really trippy.
This is 70s.
Yeah,
And who was
People.
Who was the woman, like Donna Mills or...
It could have been,
Patty Duke or Cloris Leachman.
It's whoever somebody at ABC wanted to fuck in 1973.
Jacqueline Smith. So anyway, Haunts of the Very Rich. This is one, yes, like you were hearing them through the bedroom walls.
Right.
I was allowed to watch off in the first half, and then I had to go to bed.
Yes.
And then my mother promised to tell me what happened, and she never did, or rarely did, or she just didn't remember.
And even the theme music to the ABC movie was really spooky. Like it had some really spooky music. And, yeah.
It was, well, there was, I read somewhere that, or on IMDb, not somewhere, but on IMDb, that a lot of these were a response to television, TV networks thinking they were losing people to drive-in movies.
Yes.
All the like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all Last House on the Left and all the slaughter films back then, slasher films and the gory movies. So I think that's why a lot of them happened. But this one, I remember specifically thinking it sounded so glamorous and mysterious. And also, as you'll see in the movie, it's where they shot the beginning of Fantasy Island, part of it.
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah.
And so...
because Fantasy Island started out as a weird TV movie.
Yeah.
Where it was kind of sinister. It was kind of like, be careful what you wish for. Before it became a weekly series.
Right.
Yeah,
It was a TV movie. And,
Both.
And I was...
The only impression I can do.
What is
Both.
The plane? Can you give us the plane to play?
The plane.
Oh, so accurate.
Sam Pancake.
So chillingly
Our
accurate.
gift this week is Sam Pancake. And his fantasy is to go back to the 70s and watch a bunch of different movies both.
Can you please narrate my life?
Please welcome Sam Pancake. Gee, your hair smells terrific.
That's, of course, an impression of Alice Ghostley from Designing Women. I I mean, everybody delicious. Well, the thing is, okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit. So the thing is, I then eventually saw this. I was allowed at some magical point, it must have been a Friday or Saturday night, to stay up and watch the whole thing, and didn't get it at all, and still didn't. And so I had this memory of
there's a reason for that.
Exactly. The freeze frame of Cloris Leachman and Lloyd Bridges in the jungle with the solarized flare in the background.
Right.
And then thinking, like, for years that I didn't understand if they were dead or not, or in heaven or hell. And so for decades, this movie was in my brain because I was obsessed with Cloris Leachman. Why not?
Yes.
We all were. As well, we should have been.
Yes.
And
still alive,
still working.
Yeah.
Still, I had the Cloris experience myself a couple of times. It's real. It's real.
On what show? You did
one time I met her when she was signing her books at the Palm Springs Festival, and I got a picture with her, and she grabbed my chin so hard for the photo that
You're hurting me.
Yeah. And then I went to audition for Raising Hope.
Yes.
Out there in Chatsworth, one of those godforsaken studios they use out there. And she came into the room and went around to every one of us in the waiting room, the actors in the casting waiting room, and was like, let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
Are you kidding me?
And it was I'm surprised you weren't there. Maybe you were later. The usual suspects, me, Jordan Black. I can't remember who, but just a bunch of us guys. And it was like a bellhop or a maitre d', pick one. And this is so ringing my own bell. But she went to me and she's like, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. She's like, to another guy, she's like, your reading was good, but you're going to get it because you have that extra, like,
fuck you, Cloris, get out of here.
Funny looking. And I didn't get it. And I remember because I looked it up, Jordan Black did. Good for Jordan.
You didn't get it.
But she went around and just was just making us read it with her and do it with her. And, it was almost like she was in her underwear. She wasn't, but my point was, like, they came out, the assistants kind of came out, and people were clearly, everyone was afraid.
Like, Grandma, go back to the attic.
Yeah, they're afraid to corral Cloris, but I loved it.
But I'm always kind of astonished, like, how many different careers she's had.
Yeah.
Because she had a career as a very serious actress and won an Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Only 3 years after 3 years before this movie. So which brings us back to this, which is, first of all,
go down to this cast. This cast is like,
honey, the cast is as follows: Cloris Leachman, Ed Asner, Robert Reed, Mr. Brady as a priest,
Mr. Brady tortured,
Lloyd Bridges, Tony Bill, and Donna Mills, and Anne Francis was ill the day the earth stood still,
and Moses Gunn as the black guy.
Moses Gunn as the devil ? He's like the Mr. Rourke from Fantasy Island.
There's a lot of unanswered questions in this.
Also, it's so funny where you're watching, you're like, oh, all the people. So we open on this close-up of Tony Bill and Donna Mills making out intensely. They're newlyweds.
Yes.
And pulls back to this luxury lounge in
on a plane,
like an airport 1975 77 plane. And they don't know where they're going.
Each of them has received a brochure from Portals of Eden saying that it promises the vacation of their dreams, but they've each gotten a different brochure. Like Anne Francis is like, I just want a place to relax.
I want to sleep.
Relax. Just like she just wants to chill out. Cloris Leachman wants a spa treatment. And Lloyd Bridges wants kind of a hedonistic Playboy club.
To get away from his wife.
Yeah, and he's super rapey on the plane.
He's so lecherous.
He's like full on Harvey Weinstein #MeToo. Like,
all
he's
over
like,
the place.
Well, why would a pretty lady like you need a beauty treatment? And then he's just kind of coming on to everybody immediately right away.
Yes,
in ways that would seem unsavory now.
And this is kind of a spoiler, but this show is full of spoilers. The fact that he's so lechy and rapey in the beginning and borderline sexually assaulty, just moving down the line, Anne Francis is like, oh, thank you, but I'm married. Cloris Leachman's like, oh, giggle, maybe.
So I think I'm a Scorpio. I'm not
Scorpio?
sure. Yeah, I think so.
Well, that means we're going to have an affair.
Why? What sign are you?
I don't know. But I think it's a very good idea, don't you?
Well, except that I'm a happily married woman.
Oh, well, I won't tell anybody if you don't. Hey, you're the one who started this whole thing. What sign would you say I am?
Leo the politician or Gemini the liar.
Is there a difference?
The stewardess says bust him out. This creepy, not a great actress, but beautiful stewardess who's kind of going around, and you're like, oh, she seems like she might be she's not a real stewardess, obviously.
She kind of has this way of talking like this. Kind of like 70s stewardess.
Yeah,
like everything's kind of ends in a question mark.
That's right. Don't you know? She's like, don't you remember your wife, mister?
Yeah. And then Ed Asner has no idea how he got on the plane.
Wakes up.
He wakes up. He was like, I'm on my way to Dallas.
What did we do, run into some bad weather while I was sacked out?
No, we've had a very smooth flight so far.
But we should have been in Dallas a half hour ago.
Dallas. I don't think you're awake yet, Mr. Hunsaker. This is a special charter flight to the Portals of Eden.
Portals of Eden?
Mm-hmm.
What Portals of Eden? What are you talking about?
What happened in Dallas?
We're supposed to be in Dallas first thing in the morning. I got a big deal happening.
Brochure? What brochure? Let me off this plane. Turn it around.
Yeah.
He's at a fever pitch from minute one. God bless.
Yeah.
And
Robert, and then Donna Mills and Tony Bill immediately in the very first reel go, hey, isn't that Tony Delmonico singing on the
Johnny
radio?
Delmonico is singing on the thing.
Excuse me. Could you tell me, is that Johnny Delmonico singing? It sounds like him.
It's weird. On our way to the airport, we heard he died.
Yeah, and I've never heard this song before.
Played by Michael Lembeck.
Which I was going to say to you, it's so funny. In all these movies that I've chosen for my friends, I kind of do it generally, and then I realize, oh my God, there's such a weird specific thing in each one about the person. And Michael Lembeck, who looks sexy as hell.
Oh, yeah. I always had a huge crush on him.
He doesn't come in till the end, but he directed, you tell the story.
I've worked with him a bunch of times. He worked with him on Connie and Carla, the big drag queen musical for Universal. And then we did a TV movie in Toronto. It was like We Killed the High School Musical franchise.
Oh, that one. Was
with
Plotnick
Ashley
in that
Tisdale.
too?
Yeah, Plotnick was in that.
Attaboy.
And then I've done like TV with him, like
That's
a bunch.
so nice.
Yeah,
he's
great.
The dad of my friend Sam Lembeck, who you probably know Sam, and I'm friends with his ex-wife. They're still friends, Barbara Deutsch, who I've known forever. Yeah, small world. I auditioned for Connie and Carla, but didn't get it. Moving right along. I'm very happy.
You know that he
for
was
you.
a Scientologist for a brief.
Lembeck was?
Yeah, because he was roommates with John Travolta during the first national tour of Greece. Little did it.
Honey, that's a story for another podcast.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that.
Woo-hoo!
Anyway, the people finally get to the island.
He's not anymore.
Okay, good.
Okay.
But I am, so it's awkward now.
Oh, it's gotten weird.
Just kidding,
Yes.
believe me. So they finally land. They're greeted by Moses Gunn, who has one of those accents that only kind of appears in movies.
Yes.
Well, it's a little bit like he's trying to do a Caribbean thing or
It's a
English
little bit
thing.
arch. Yes.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Seacrest. I am your host here at the Portals of Eden. I trust you all had a very smooth flight. Anything you need during your stay here, anything at all, come to me.
It's like very Jeffrey Holder.
Yeah, and they landed some kind of like Florida Keys house.
Well, that's the thing where they on the plane, they're like, are we going to South America or the Caribbean? But they get there and like, oh, no, it's Florida.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and it's that house, that villa that they stay in is on the Biscayne Bay. I don't know how you say it. It's in Miami.
But
Biscayne
the exterior, they filmed that for Biscayne, and then the other side of the house was the Fantasy Island house.
Because there's this boathouse.
Yeah.
Sort of, there's a boathouse in almost all these movies.
Right.
There's a weird frontal boathouse that fronts the water. I guess that's the boathouse where they take that body that one time.
Yeah.
But then they run out the back, and they're in the LA Arboretum.
And the LA
which is in
Arboretum.
Arcadia.
Yeah.
Past Pasadena.
I've been to a bunch of gay weddings there.
I've shot commercials there. There's peacocks.
Yeah.
They're loud.
There's turtles. Yeah, it's adorable.
And it's where the Meet the Fockers that Barbara Streisand.
That was
Dustin
Barbara
Hoffman.
Streisand's house and Meet the Fockers, and it was the Fantasy Island house.
So we get to the island. Everyone gets out. At first, it's a dream. Anne Francis just gets to sleep in her beautiful suite.
Yeah, she just wants to sleep.
Cloris Leachman comes out.
She has a husband and kids that are
we care
pulling
about
at her all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Then Cloris gets a beauty treatment from a woman who speaks in sign language.
Yes.
And then
none of the ethnic people can speak English.
Well,
There's a couple of Asian like houseboys, like bellhops, and I was I immediately I could have played one of them.
Well, Moses
I could have had a day's work.
Well, first of all, you realize everyone on the plane, all these rich people are, of course, white, and everyone that works in the island is of color.
Yes.
And you think they're not going to address it, but then eventually, first Moses Gunn says, they understand a little English, but they speak none of it. I find that works best. Or something like that.
Exactly.
And later on,
somebody asked, how come you don't hire any Caucasians?
And Asner, of course, he's like, what do you got going on now, black man? He actually says
he
that.
He says black man.
Yeah, he does. And they ask why there's no Caucasians, and then I wrote.
And then it's not really answered.
It's not really answered.
He goes, usually there's a manager of some kind.
Or something, and then he changes the subject back to the radio, because here's what happens, y'all. Everyone gets, first their beautiful suite, and Ed Asner gets placed in a Motel 6.
Yeah.
He's in a Motel 6 room.
He's in a Motel 6 room, and they say, why is my room like this?
What's so hot about this place? I could be in Schenectady for crying out loud.
We try to tailor our accommodations to the needs and pleasures of our guests. Mr. Woodruff plans to stay here and indulge himself. Mrs. Larrier wants to rest. The Reverend Fellows wishes to research more exotic religions than his own. Your need is to leave. This is a room for a man on the move, a stopover on the way to more important places.
And then so Cloris gets an adjoining room with Lloyd.
And his is like a swingers Playboy thing with a round bed and the full bar, the snap your fingers and the music comes on.
Right.
But then
he gets the rapey suite.
Yes, he does, completely. And the dinner, he goes, there's a dinner. Everyone's always formally dressed for dinner. Yeah. And he
comes on pretty strong to Anne Francis, who starts talking about her kids and the husband.
Yep.
And then he ditches her as soon as Cloris Leachman comes in after her makeover.
By the lady who's Miss Vick, we find out is her name, who speaks in sign language.
Yes.
And I wish you could see my hand. She does a weird thing. It points like this with her hands, but Cloris knows that means you're going to give me a lot of makeup.
You're going to get a finger wave.
Yes.
And she has like the 70s updo finger wave, like it's just like she's like lamb chop. It's like
everything, ear curls and so much makeup, and she looks great. And I took a picture off the TV of her and I'll send it to our producer of her just looking up at Lloyd Bridges. It was a very fuzzy print on YouTube. It is all on YouTube, but please check out Cloris.
You look fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Feels heavy somehow. Afraid it'll all crack open if I smile too much.
So the first night happens, and in the middle of the night, there's a horrible hurricane.
Horrible storm.
At first, everyone's happy, and then complete chaos.
Oh, wait, you forget. Donna Mills in her bed during the storm.
The first clue.
She pulls back the sheets, and there's a snake.
A symbol.
There's a snake.
And they cut back and forth. In the close-up, it's coiled. In the far away, it's stretched out, and no editors don't care. They don't give never mind for that continuity. And then, Robert Reed he's a preacher. We forgot to say that.
He's a preacher who's having a crisis of conscience.
Yes, he's lost his faith.
He's lost his faith, and so he wants to visit an indigenous tribe on the island.
This trip is very important to me.
Is he a bunch of Indians?
Quivele Indians have an ancient ceremony, Mrs. Larrier, capable of great mystical experience. And I am hoping to discover if my faith has any meaning.
And you think some savages can show you that?
Visions are visions. They will have theirs. I will have mine.
And then he's very serious, and this you can tell is like Robert Reed. It was at the Brady Bunch all the time, and Cloris and Ed were on Mary Tyler Moore. But Robert Reed always wanted to be a serious actor, and he felt constrained by Brady Bunch and hated Sherwood Schwartz. And he does a really good job in this for him. I think at the end.
Did you see him on Medical Center when he had a sex change?
I've never
seen that. That is on YouTube too, and it's like the last scene where his wife comes to visit him, and he turns around and he looks like Betty Crocker. Like his hair is in waves like Betty Crocker, and he's like in Betty Crocker drag. Like he looks.
I imagine that's probably the first well, then they said sex change. But it's my producer knows a lot about these things. Was that the first one? It was one of the first.
Yeah,
we'll say it's one of the first.
It was one of the first. And he goes, "How do you feel?" He goes, "I feel different."
Anyway,
but there's a big reveal. You got to watch that. That's on YouTube.
Oh yes, so listeners, please
California
watch that.
Adams directed me towards it, and we just busted a gut laughing.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
I get my jumping.
They get the snake out of the thing, and the guy gives them some crappy excuse like, "Oh, it's very common in the tropics."
And then Robert Reed, because there's a couple of hints on the plane that like, oh, this is weird. This.
Oh, because people were looking at each other's luggage, and they were like, "Oh, well, that preacher just came on with a beach bag."
Yes, and didn't he say he almost drowned.
Yes.
And the newlyweds have luggage, but they were going on their honeymoon, and then it's
Right.
revealed she's like, you drove us into that car.
Yeah, you were always saying you're sorry, like when you drove into that lamppost right before our honeymoon.
On the way to the airport.
Yeah.
And then Cloris Leachman, the weirdest one is she's like, because she's the one that starts to put it together.
You just think back a minute, you'll realize that we've all had some serious illness or accident in the recent past.
I had a heart attack. Helen.
I had a fatal allergic reaction to a rabies shot. Reverend Fellows drowned. The Dugans had an accident on the way to the airport.
For crying out loud, I told you already. I have never been sick. I've never had any accidents.
Neither have I. I mean, who can afford to be sick with a husband and 3 children to take care of?
Well, there you go.
Wait a minute, Al. You said you were a sound sleeper, right?
Am, buddy, am.
What about you, Annette?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm a light sleeper. I usually have to take a pill.
Did you take any pills the night before you flew down here?
Well, yes, I was very excited.
Did you take any more than usual?
Well, I took a different kind of pill. Alan said it was a bit stronger.
And before that, though, like when Lloyd finally Lloyd Bridges, he gets her up to his swingers pad, and he's leaning over her in the most awkward way, kissing her temple and the top of her hair.
And then he has angina.
The next morning, well, they clearly hook up.
Yeah.
And then they're in the bathroom the next morning. He's got his shirt off showing. He's still got
Not
it
bad.
at 60.
Not bad.
I do it. He's no Jeff Bridges and he's no Bo Bridges. But he did make them.
But he is a Bridges.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those, I'll take a delicious Bridges any day. I've also worked with his grandson, Jordan Bridges, another gorgeous, sexy man. Hurrah for Bridges. So he has angina. He had a heart attack.
Yeah, he drops and each time one of these hints drops, it's like a big clog being dropped off the top of the building. Yes. It's like clunk, and it's like, oh, I had a heart problem. Right. I had a scare. I had a close scare, and it's kind of like, okay, you're all dead.
We're getting it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I also really liked and appreciated was Cloris she is so good in this, and she plays everything so real. And it's like a year before she did Frau Blucher, which we know she can be broad and hilarious. She's just such a magician.
She's so good.
And there's at one point at the end where she has a lantern and she's walking up the stairs, and I'm like, shades of Frau Blucher with the candlestick.
Yeah. Had she been doing Mary Tyler Moore?
She was in the thick of it. Yeah. She was right in the thick of it. But before she did Phyllis.
So everybody at this point has some kind of TV career going where they want to kind of show everybody else their muscles. That I'm more than Lou Grant. I'm more than Mr. Brady. Yeah. I'm more than Donna Mills and whatever I'm doing right now.
I have range. And it's also
and these were a big deal because there wasn't cable. So like
there was 3 networks.
There was 3 networks.
And that was it. And PBS maybe, and who cares? It's for Sesame Street.
Right.
So time, help me out. They realize they're trapped on the island.
Yes.
The food, eventually all the staff runs away.
All the staff runs away because they're superstitious.
They see Miss Vick, and of course Lloyd Bridges and Ed Asner are making lecherous
comments
about her.
There's no electricity the next morning.
No electricity.
So they have to make do. They said we have 3 more days of food. Another plane is coming, but they can't land because the runway's been destroyed.
Somehow. And also they fix Ed Asner fixes the radio because he knows how, sure he does.
Yes.
But no one can hear them.
Nobody can hear them.
No one can respond.
He says, I'm getting some fuzzy interference here.
Yeah.
That's what he calls them. So what's going on, black man?
So Robert Reed has already taken off to go visit the tribes. Somehow he's trudging over the mountains.
He packs his beach bag full of like 3 days food, like some
and
Hormel chili or something.
And a couple of grapefruit. They look like something. I don't know. Yeah. And then Anne Francis scolds him for that. And then everything starts to break down, y'all. The newlyweds start fighting.
Yes.
The Anne Francis really starts to snap. Ed Asner gets even more worked up than he already was.
Anne Francis just starts losing it. Everything is just, she just becomes totally phobic about everything and just wants to go back to her room.
But she also admits she did have a bit of a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
And she's playing it, God bless her.
And that she had to take tranquilizers. I took a great deal of, my husband gave me a great deal of tranquilizers.
That was the thing when she realizes that he gave her different pills.
Yeah.
But But she does the classic thing, which I've always wanted to do in a movie or anywhere, where she's sitting at the table, the service isn't good, and she's like, "Wah!" And she starts screaming at the table and banging and clearing it off with her hands, like, "Ah, nah, 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 nah." And Cloris comes over to soothe her. Yeah. And the weird like sort of turn is like how Lloyd Bridges goes from this creepy lecherous guy hitting on every single woman to
like
the hero,
confessing everything
to the hero, and Cloris falls in love with him, and they find something special. Yeah. So suffice to say, listeners, and we do have to, we could spend a lot of time on this, but they all realize to varying degrees that they are dead.
They're dead.
They all had near-death experiences, except for Ed Asner said, "I never did." And then later on, of course, he admits that he got plots in a potty and fell down a flight of stairs.
At my business partner's house.
Exactly.
Before I left for Texas, my partner gave a birthday party for his wife. I got plotzed. I fell down some stairs and passed out.
Okay, so Donna Mills, Tony Bill, car accident, Lloyd Bridges, heart attack, Robert Reed, who they find in the jungle, passed out.
Well, no, he comes back.
He comes back, but he says it was uneventful. They were all savages.
They were all, and they buried deformed children.
They buried deformed children
alive.
Miss Vick, the beauty treatment lady, dies on the. She drops dead.
Collapses.
They hide her body.
I like how first they're like looking at her across the room. She looks gorgeous.
And they're
She's
like hubba hubba.
And then they're like, well, what are servants doing in the dining room?
Right.
You know, immediately class comes into play, but they still want to fuck her. And then she wisely collapses dead right in front of them. They hide the body in the boathouse.
Cloris Leachman says, "We're all dead. Let me prove it to you. Take me to Miss Vick's body." They take her to Miss Vick's body. It's gone. And then also there's all these multiple kind of rescues that try to happen that don't happen.
So then
there's a rescue plane where Michael Lembeck gets off.
Exactly, where he comes in and they're like, "Oh my God." He's like, "Oh yeah, I just got here." And excuse. Yeah. There were, the runways that were out, or there were other people to save. Or
I got to go save some other folks right now.
Exactly. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah. And then he takes off and he looks so sexy. He's got this
tank top
with a strawberry in the middle of it. I wish the copy wasn't so muddy on YouTube, because I wanted to freeze frame that, because he looked real good. But then Donna Mills, after he leaves,
says, "That's Johnny Delmonico."
Do you know who that was? It was Johnny Delmonico. I've seen him 100 times. I know it's him, and he's dead. Remember? On our way to the airport, we heard on the radio that he died in a plane crash.
And they realize, okay, they go back to like, okay, we are dead.
Right.
But then also, but before that, is it before or after?
Are we or aren't we?
I know,
it goes through are we or aren't we for a good half hour.
Yes, back and forth. And then Robert Reed delivers this very long, well-performed, obtuse, impenetrable monologue about like...
Hell. Why should we be in hell? Are we any worse than anyone else? No, I don't think so. We are people. Just people like any other people. We have our good, we have our bad, and I don't think we should be singled out for punishment.
Go on. Keep it up. That's what I like to hear.
We are all very much alive. It only seems like hell because we have all lost our illusions. I've lost my faith. I've lost my cynicism. The Dugans have lost their young love. Mrs. Larrier has lost her illusion of domestic bliss.
What I got from that monologue, and then I want you to tell me what you got, was like, we aren't dead. We just like have lost. He's like, we've lost our illusions, and illusions keep us alive.
Yes.
So you lost your illusions about your family, Anne Francis, who also commits suicide again. She bleeds out, but she's still alive.
Yes.
And the newlyweds are like, but the only people that still have hope are Lloyd and
the
Cloris.
newlyweds have lost their love, their new love, their innocence,
their dreams.
I've lost my faith.
Ed Asner lost his business, so we might as well be dead, but we're not actually physically dead.
Right.
And then I think Johnny Delmonico happens, and they realize they are physically dead.
Right.
But I don't know.
And then the ending is Lloyd Bridges keeps on talking about this wife that he keeps trying to get rid of, and she arrives on the island after having capsized on a ship or something.
20 people on a boat, whatever, and she shows up.
She shows up all shipwrecky looking, and so continues to pursue it and pursue Lloyd Bridges, and Lloyd Bridges and Cloris Leachman run away through the jungle, and then it turns into this slow-mo thing, and then you can hear Ed Asner's voiceover shouting,
"Go to hell!"
This is happening. How it happens, and then the last line is literally, "Go to hell!"
My iniquity, extract my disbelief, and swallow up the fruits of my corruption, and my disbelief.
And then it's the freeze frame of them. And I remember that so frustrating me as a young person seeing that when I finally saw the end. Like, what? Like, I wanted closure. I wanted completion. I wanted answers. I wanted solution. And it's also weird at the very end where, like, it goes from an ensemble to, like, just Lloyd and Cloris. And even at the end there where they're all standing in a tableau on the stairs. Like a publicity, a promo photo for Dynasty or something.
Yeah, why is nobody talking? You're kind of like, they were all kind of surrendering to the death.
Yeah, or suddenly they were just, background players in his game or something. And I read a lot of things, and this actually it says teleplay by T.K. Wood, but like there was a movie in 1930 based on a stage play called Outward Bound, which took place on an ocean liner, which was the same thing, starring Leslie Howard.
So it was like John Paul Sartre, No Exit.
Well, it's that kind of thing, those 7 people. And then 1944, there was a remake with like Eleanor Parker and John Garfield, and they were on a ship.
Gosh.
But some know they're dead. They sound really interesting. Some know they're dead at the beginning, especially the guy who committed suicide. He's like, I just killed myself. How am I on this ocean liner?
Right.
But it's right during World War II.
Right.
And Sidney Greenstreet plays the examiner, and he's kind of acting like this is what I took from the review. I haven't seen it. He's the examiner, but he's going around listening to all the stories, and he gets to decide if they go to heaven or hell. So it's more of they're in purgatory. Which this was, if this would have had a little more clarity about what was going on, instead of a vague, it didn't feel like a good kind of vague, like the ambivalence of life.
It was a dissatisfying kind of vague. But I think it was also kind of like a perfect encapsulation of kind of like the 70s navel gazing of like examining your own life. It's kind of, we're coming out of the hedonism of the 60s into the hedonism of the 70s, and also kind of like Est was super popular and Scientology.
Zen meditation.
Zen meditation and kind of like cults. Really examining your values and who you are as a person.
And there's also the thing about, and like people said this about Gilligan's Island too, like each of those people represent one of the 7 deadly sins. Like Cloris Leachman is vanity, Ed Asner is greed, Lloyd Bridges is pride. The honeymooners are lust and anger. Or maybe Lloyd Bridges is lust, and Frances is sloth because she wants to sleep.
You are deep. I did not go that deep at all.
No, I remember hearing that, and then I read this online as well, like in one of their reviews.
All right.
And then like I read another thing that was like, because when I read that I was like, I decided which is, what are they called, the 7 deadly sins, which I thought they were, but then this other thing said something different. But that was interesting too, because there are 7 of them. Yeah. So there's that.
Oh, wow. This movie's like an onion.
It
Just keep peeling away.
Peeling and peeling.
Yes.
Until you get to the center, both.
Yeah, I also like... and it also, Ed Asner uses an expression to Lloyd Bridges or one of them when they're trying to tell him facts, and he says, "Up the toboggan with your facts." Like, I've never heard "up the toboggan with your facts" before. And also that Johnny Delmonico song, it's so funny because you hear it on the plane and it's the cheesiest, like, feelings, whoa, feelings, but like even uglier.
But then it goes to the island. There's like a soundtrack throughout the first 45 minutes of the movie that follows them into the bedroom, into the dining room.
But also, you think it's going to be this like middle-aged, like Tony Martin sort of, I don't know, Andy Williams singer, and it gets off the boat, and that's Johnny Delmonico, and he's like sexy Captain Cool and the Kongs, Michael Lembeck.
Right.
Do you remember Captain Cool and the Kongs?
Yeah. I told him that the minute I met him. I was like, Captain Cool and the Kongs.
I think I did too.
Yeah, because he had all that chest hair.
Oh my God,
he had like this deep V-neck kind of glitter rock thing, and I was just kind of like, as a little kid going, I feel funny in my swimsuit area.
I don't understand anything anymore except for I know what I want in my mouth.
Yeah, he probably was one of the guys that started my sort of like Jewish, dark Jewish hairy
day
guy.
At a time.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, he had that great 70s hair.
I wish he was in the movie more. He comes in and he leaves.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and this clearly led later on to, I think, Fantasy Island happening.
Of course.
And all that stuff.
Of course.
But we have to close it out now,
Oh, wow.
sadly.
That went by fast.
Alec, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You're a pure delight. I knew you would treasure this movie. Are there any other movies you want to recommend besides The People that you remember from that time?
The People, Let's Scare Jessica to Death. There was a Shelley Winters one, Daughter of the Devil, or
The Devil's Daughter.
The
which
Devil's Daughter.
You brought to my attention, so
Yeah.
I need to watch that, and we'll have it in the next season.
I like the Houdini one with Sally Struthers and Paul Michael Glaser too, and Vivian Vance.
Vivian Vance is the mother. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
that's a good one.
And also I want to do the Lizzie Borden one, which I think is the same director
With
as this
Elizabeth
one.
Montgomery.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my God, what's with our brains, man?
I
can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember that Elizabeth Montgomery starred in the Lizzie Borden TV movie.
You had a delicious smoothie. It probably makes you fart. That's probably what you had. I'm just guessing. How would I know that? Tell us where the good people can find you.
You can find me on social media. Alec Mapa on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. ALECMAPA.
Yes. And your new porn character is Phallic Fappa.
Phallic Fappa.
Yeah. My name is on the Twitters, I am J Sam Pancake, and on the IGs, I am the Sam Pancake, or you can follow me on Facebook. And before we go, Alec, I'd like to say something to you and to all of our listeners that Lloyd Bridges said to Cloris Leachman after she washed off her makeover makeup. He said, "You're pretty. You're really pretty. You don't need that pudding all over your face." Good night. This has been a Table Cakes production. To find out more about Table Cakes, go to patreon.com/tablecakes. Thank you.
What are you trying to pull, black man?